biopsychosocial model. But we chronically leave out the moral side of things. We chronically ignore the spiritual side of things. And we're getting better. We psychiatrists are getting better at that, but we've got a ways to go. There's a whole subject in child and adolescent psychiatry that is woefully neglected concerning moral development, the development of good moral turpitude, so to speak, the development of goodness in children. And we've ignored that over the course of years. We have some work to do. One of the reasons we've ignored it is it's very difficult to put numbers on. It's very difficult to gauge. It's very difficult to put a score on. But it's something that we need to work on because I think we're leaving that out of this equation. So that's all I had for you. Thank y'all for asking me to come speak. Time for questions? Okay, you can stay up here. Okay. Hey, let's open up for questions. I already told you I don't have any answers, but let's open it up for questions, and maybe somebody in the audience might have an answer or two. Yes?
I enjoy your talk very much.
Thank you.
And I had a question. One of the common themes on several of the slides were poor peer relations, bullying, and so forth, and we've all heard that. Are there any common themes for, or that's been looked at for, college rampage shooting, or like the incident in the movie theater, young adults that people have looked at that push those people into these types of situations?
Yeah, the question is, are there any themes in the, I think this is right, in the older, like the college age shooters, like the one that happened yesterday in Orlando, Virginia Tech, the Colorado mass shooting, Aurora, right, Colorado. Are there any common themes that arise in those particular incidents? I think the Langman review would give me the biggest hints about that, and I think I don't know enough about these shooters, but plenty of them seem to have either some kind of psychopathy going on, lots of narcissism and grandiosity, like the individual in California about a month ago who went on a rampage, the ex-LA cop who went on a shooting rampage and began killing people. Very grandiose, very narcissistic. He had been wronged, and he was going to prove himself to be right. So I think, yes, you could probably say that these individuals fall into these various categories. I do not know that the issue of bullying or poor peer relations
wouldn't be there for those people.
Yeah, and it might not. That's what Langman points out, is that we might say that okay, bullying causes young people to develop this mass murder mentality. And he says, well, yeah, that might be true, but it might not be true, too. It might be something else completely different, like psychopathy. Yeah. Yes?
I would encourage you all to contact your legislators. There is a bill in our Alabama State Legislature right now, Senate Bill 133, that Senator Tripp Pittman from Montrose, Alabama has put forth. It's passed through the Judiciary Committee already with 3 amendments. And what it has to deal with is people who have been involuntarily committed in this state getting sent to the Alabama, their names being submitted to the Alabama Criminal Justice Information System so that they can be submitted to the NCIS, the National Criminal Instant Background Check System, because our current state law requires law enforcement to show up at their hearings, at their probate court judge hearings, and oftentimes law enforcement does not show up at their hearings. And these people get released from involuntarily being committed, and they are still able to go out and purchase firearms because they are not in that background check system. So that is currently at our state level, and I would encourage you to support that bill.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yes.
There, you know, as son of Sam, I guess it's a bad time for a Bert Show talk, but the question I have is that almost 40,000 people in the United States commit suicide every year. Does this really point to our really lack of mental health, ability? And Alta Point and you are doing a great job, but but have we missed is there a big gap between a lot of need and missed opportunities for mental health?
Yeah, with all these, the question is, with all the suicides that are occurring, isn't there a big gap in what we're trying to do? We psychiatrists in particular are trying to do to try to help people who are suicidal, and the fact that there are so many suicides. What's the deal?
Well, all mental health. I mean,
Yeah.
that was just a component to go
Yeah.
into this.
Yeah, and it's just one of the many problems that we've got here in the country that are totally solvable. I mean, it would seem that we could cure everybody from depression and suicidality, but doggone it, we haven't been doing a very good job of it. Some of it's access to care. Some of it is access to weapons that other societies don't have, other cultures don't have. I think it does bring us all to the table, though, and forces us to at least begin to take account of what we're doing. Yeah. Same deal goes with diabetes and obesity and heart disease and all those things too. There's some fine doctors in the audience that know how to treat all those things, and you could help me, I'll tell you that. I could lose some weight. But I think all those things, one of the things that some people have said is that guns don't kill people, Americans kill people, which is something to think about. It's not necessarily the guns, it's us Americans, because there are a lot of societies out there that have guns who don't kill people like we do, and don't kill themselves like we do. Finland has fairly high rates of suicide as well. They've got more depression and not nearly as much suicide as we do, but they're running a close second. Yes.
It seemed like this whole issue of violence in our culture, violence in our media, violence in video games is almost being blown off. Because through the theme of through your talk, I just didn't hear much data on people studying that aspect of influence on people like the perpetrator in Connecticut.
Yeah.
Now we learn in retrospect that apparently he was acting out what he saw in his video life.
That's true, but think about it this way. The people, this all came about, by the way, this all started with Dylan Klebold and Eric Harris playing Doom, which is a computer video game, which is a very violent game. And that whole idea really got its nidus when it was found that they were playing Doom. The problem is that there are millions of kids playing Doom and other violent video games, and they're not going out and doing these heinous acts.
That's almost punting. Because there are millions of people that have guns.
True.
That don't do this.
That's true.
We got millions of guns.
That's true. That's true.
As you pointed, it's a rare event.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's almost like it's a punt.
Yeah.
To make that.
Well, yeah, that's the way in literature, though. If you read the literature, what they're trying to do is they're trying to say, okay, is this more influence from the violent media than any other kid who is sitting in class and may be depressed or suicidal but doesn't kill somebody or kill himself? And the answer is, well, no, not really. The same amount of video violence and other media violence is available to most every young person. So the thing that really, again, the thing that really seems to come across is the ones that are most likely to be violent are not the ones that are watching video games and playing video games and watching violent videos and listening to music. It's the ones that are actually doing things that are figuratively violent, like writing or drawing or other things that seem to be rather, rather light, but at the same time, they're the ones that are most likely to perpetrate violence. Yes?
On the flip side of that, has anyone studied not that video games cause someone to be violent, but video games cause someone to have less empathy for others, less, sympathy or just a matter of
Don't know that that's been.
human life?
Yeah, has the issue of empathy and violent video games or violent media been researched? I don't know that that's been researched, really. It might make sense to think like that, but I don't know if that's been researched. Might make common sense. Yes?
In my experience, I am not at the level that
you guys are, but I was a classroom teacher
Mhm.
in inner city.
Uh-huh.
And these students had learned traits. And then you combine them with video games.
Mhm.
I mean, they didn't have empathy to begin with.
Yeah.
They just have survival instincts.
Right.
That's what they have, survival instincts.
Mhm.
Because they have to get through the day that you and I can't even comprehend.
Mhm.
And then you combine it with what Dr. Gardner said, with these video games, and it just compounds it all.
Mhm.
And I'm like you, I had no answers. I no longer teach.
Mhm.
But that's what I ran into on a daily basis. But I did find out, this may sound crazy to all of y'all, but love had a tremendous impact on some of these students. But I couldn't give it to them on a continuous basis.
Yeah.
I'm kind of for
No,
you.
you didn't give them love. You gave them structure and
Yeah.
consistency
But only for a year.
and positive regard.
And then they were gone. And
Right.
then, and then all the traits that you have shown up there, I couldn't provide them anymore.
Mhm.
They were gone.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, the issue, thank you for that comment, and I appreciate what you did in the inner city schools too. I've been there and consulted with those, and that is that's a war zone. It's tough. It's tough. One thing about the video violence, though, the one thing I think was on one of the slides that is true is that kids who are preoccupied with these violent video games and violent themes and so forth are more prone to aggression. They're not more prone to criminality, but they are more prone to aggression. If that helps assuage some of the issue that you've got with the video issue, they are more prone to aggression, but not more prone to this criminality. You, and then you. Ladies first, you.
Can you speak to when a child or an adolescent ages out to where they are no longer under the parental, you are going to a psychiatrist? As the two shooters yesterday,
Yeah.
the Sandy Hook, those parents cannot force a child
Right.
theirs who's reached the age of majority
That's right.
into mental health care.
That's right.
Do you have any comment about that?
Well, in this country, we've got personal freedom, and we've decided that once you reach a certain age, you have the freedom to decide whether you're going to access the care that is available to you or not. I'm sorry, and that's true with a lot of things. I've learned to cope with the frustration of, you know where I learned this? I learned how to cope with the frustration of people who don't get treatment from dealing with substance abusers and alcoholics. And it's the same kind of issue. The problem is so evident and so obvious, but you can't force anybody to get help. And it's very frustrating, but you just do the best that you can. I don't have an answer.
How do you deal with, someone's violent, someone has all these characteristics, they've, disclosed to you what they plan on doing. If I can just get a hold of a gun, this is my plan, bam, 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 bam.
Right.
And then you...
In a situation like that, you contact the authorities.
Well, and you make the peers aware, but yet they can't do anything about it either.
Yeah.
So what, other than contacting the authorities, and the authorities go like, you're just...
Well, they haven't done anything yet. There's no overt act.
Right, exactly.
Right. You do the best you can. Who was it back? Somebody who said that they gave love. Yeah. I think that person would agree that you need to pray for those people. Yeah. There's not a whole lot you can do. Yes.
Just getting back to when we're talking about the video games, how similar or dissimilar are the risk factors for non-mass shooters, school shooters that one or two victims are involved? For those individuals versus the mass shooters, are they totally separate, apples and oranges, or are they somewhat similar?
No, they're actually, the Langman work that was done that divided individuals into three, very similar to the single shooters as well. The huge majority of these shootings are done by these one person takes a gun and shoots one person. That's the huge majority of homicide in the country. And so the small minority that are doing these mass shootings, it's not really possible to take their particular dynamics and then say that those dynamics are actually interchangeable with this other group. But at the same time, many of these same traits are present.
I mean, I guess, you know, if you have an individual that's shooting one individual because an argument over a boyfriend, girlfriend, or, you know, you know, you can kind of wrap your head around that a little bit more than killing 20 people.
Yeah.
So are those people, those individuals that are just shooting one person, or there's something that really is, they're kind of like, well, this is just a crime of...
I don't think you can say that. I think it depends. It's a case-by-case
Yeah, I mean-
issue. I think sometimes people do it just impulsively. It's, hey, that's my girlfriend, bang.
Right, yeah, that's-
You know, and so they're not really.
Things like video games, has there been any risk factors that would put individuals at increased risk for that type of...
Again, the literature says the video games, all that media stuff, more likely to be aggressive, but no more likely to be a criminal.
And there's no other risk factors for those one-on-one individuals?
There is no definitive portrait. Yeah, the FBI says it, the Department of Education, everybody that's ever studied this says that. There was one more question. One more question back to that. You were so diligent. I figured we need to.
I'm just curious about anything in the works that's going to counteract some of this. I've seen on television in the past year or so commercials encouraging people that do have mental illness to get help, and it encourages us as a society to get involved. And I wondered if in the school systems or in your system, if there's a way that we're teaching kids to look for these things. I know there's some bullying, probably education, and we've done such a good job of say no to drugs, that type thing. I wondered if there's something that's out there I'm just not aware of, or is there any positive spin to get us all okay about obesity? That's
Yeah.
kind of the same thing. Are we getting there? Is there something in place?
The biggest thing that I know of in this community, and I'm new to this community again, having moved here back in July, but the biggest thing that's happened in this community that I'm aware of is access to care, which is what Alta Point has put together to provide people with a way to get into care, to get into some kind of counseling or therapy or an inpatient unit or residential care, whatever the appropriate type of care you need. That's the biggest thing in this community that mental health people have done. Right now, if you have a mental health crisis, you have a number you can call, and that number is access to care, and there are people there all the time. So, and I think having availability, you know, it's important that we have access to some kind of intervention, some kind of care, whether it be psychiatric care or a therapist or a pastoral counselor or something in place that's easier to get to than a gun. Okay, and when we can get it to that point where people can actually access care more readily than they can a weapon, I think we will have all done ourselves a favor. Thank you all again for your attention. Thank you. Thank you very much.